Good evening, everyone. Thank you for your patience. Our closed session ran a little late and we're having a few technical difficulties, but we're all good now. We just came out of a closed session where our meeting was called to order, so we can begin. But before we begin, I'm going to turn it over to our board attorney, Mark Toscano, who's over here, because the agenda does not accurately list everything that we discussed in closed session, so I'm going to turn it over to him so he can update the information.
Yeah, just for point of clarification, the agenda is printed the Friday before the meeting, so there were some additional topics that were announced before we went into executive session, and just so that the record is clear, those matters were for number 5, there was an additional item. The board discussed the site work project at Community Middle School, and in number 7, there was an additional item that the board discussed, which were policy revisions in light of Executive Orders 251 and 253.
Thank you. So good evening again, everyone. Here we are. The board is showing its full spirit tonight for lots of reasons. Tonight is the last meeting that we're going to have before school begins, and actually teachers return for professional development tomorrow. I think it's fair to say that the average person just cannot begin to understand the complexity and amount of work that happens over the summer, and this summer in particular. So as a board, we just wanted to show our spirit and thank everyone who worked so diligently and tirelessly this summer to get us ready for this school year. You know, the normal things like construction projects and curriculum writing and professional development, on top of all the things that we need to do and the mitigation measures that have to take place given the public health issues that we are dealing with, it's just incredible. So under the leadership of our superintendent and the assistant superintendents, building supervisor, principals, supervisors, I can't even list everyone. We just want to say thank you for all your passion and dedication to our students, and we are WWP Strong, and we are looking forward to working starting tomorrow for our teachers. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Adderholt for his comments.
Good evening, everyone. Just want to echo some of the comments from Michelle. As she said, tomorrow we welcome nearly 900 teachers and support staff back to district. We look forward to working and welcoming our staff back. A week from tomorrow, we welcome back all of our students, and I will do a presentation this evening on some of the additional safety measures and mitigation strategies, some changes from the July 27th board meeting in the presentation, and do a little bit of an update this evening. As Michelle said, the task has been monumental. I'd like to thank the leadership team here at the table, and Pam and Chris and Lee and Barbara Gould, and especially our HR department with the leadership of Charity, Camelo and Patrick Duncan, and their support team, Terry and Allison and others. Just a monumental lift during this time. Tremendous challenges in front of us, but we're very well grounded in what we need to do to keep our students and our colleagues safe and our school community safe. So I look forward to giving a presentation this evening, and I'll leave it at that for now. So thank you.
So in addition to the presentation that Dr. Adderholt will be giving, we have another presentation tonight. So I'm going to turn the meeting now over to Dr. Pamela Nathan, our Assistant Superintendent for Curriculum and Instruction, who's going to give us a review of the curriculum for the next school year, or curriculum changes, I guess. Right.
Good evening. I have the pleasure of sharing a high-level overview of the amazing work that has been completed over the summer. Curriculum is revised as a result of 3 opportunities. 1, the standards change. 2, we reach a point in our documents in our review cycle about every 5 years. Or 3, to ensure our district's strategic goals are emulated through the documents and therefore through our students' learning experiences. As I mentioned, those goals are always front and center, even through the hardest times. So strategic goal 1, 2, 3, and 4 will be a brief overcap, as you can see on the slides. Strategic goal 1 focuses on every child, really ensuring that their voice and they have choice in their learning experiences. Strategic goal 2 is our global competence goal, our global child, ensuring that we have an opportunity to understand and take action. Strategic goal 3 centers around social emotional learning, SEL, our whole child approach. And strategic goal 4, our equity goal. As equity is our newest formalized goal, a professional development session focused on equity and understanding by design, UBD, that all curriculum writers participated in before writing curriculum was created. Here is a slide from that professional development session. Our curriculum writers and our supervisors of instruction were intentional about the curricula created and revised this summer. As part of our revision process and through our equity work, materials and texts are being adopted to expand what's called windows, mirrors, and sliding doors for all of our students. Watch this brief clip to build your understanding. Okay, so we'll put this on the website and share the link. I'll summarize briefly. It's about a minute clip. And here the professor talks about the importance of mirrors, which is the ability to see yourself through the texts and learning experiences in the classroom. And also the opportunity of windows, which allows you to see through those texts and through those materials so that you can see others' experiences. And sliding doors, that ability to walk in others' shoes, build your empathy. So I encourage you to check out our website and this presentation and be able to hear from the author herself. Literacy, science, social studies, and world language has an equity focus for a lot of our revision work. You will see that in the following slides. Here we have our literacy documents. Elementary and high school were the focus over this summer. In elementary school in grades 3 through 5, we were able to create a 10-day interlude. The 10-day interlude will support the work that students are already doing in their English language arts and social studies classrooms or in units of study throughout the year. Students will read excerpts from Stamped for Kids, which was adopted by Sonia Cherry Paul, to have discussions around history, racism, and how students can be the positive change in our world. This work supports all of our district goals and allows for students to think critically and deeply. In Language Arts 1, we incorporated components and opportunities for authentic writing from the Girl Rising project. We added components that support anti-ableism, portrayal of Tiny Tim in A Christmas Carol, and physical diversity, The Curious Incident of the Dog in the Nighttime by Mark Haddon, which focuses on neurodiversity. We added Asian American work, American-Born Chinese by Jean Lung Yang. In Language Arts 2, we added a stronger focus on Native American literature with the incorporation of the novel There, There by Tommy Orange as a main text in Unit 1. In Language Arts 3, we added Asian American collection, including Our Stories, an introduction to South Asian America. Our equity work continues as we worked on our science documents, and you can see the number of science documents. All kindergarten through 5th grade, middle school, and high school CP and honors courses documents were updated to include the New Jersey Student Learning Standards for Science with a focus on climate change. All curricula updated to align with our equity work as well, including causes and effects of disabilities and expanded resources addressing equity and inclusivity through the contributions of different cultures and advances in science, previously unrecognized gender and demographic groups. This is always a work in progress as well. In social studies, in grades 2, 3, and 4, we worked on new units of study. A unit celebrating the differences and respect for others replaces a former unit on Native American history. The unit incorporates diverse texts to develop literacy skills and centers understanding of identity and empathy. In grade 3, a new unit, Culture and the People in the United States, will replace the former Heritage unit. In grade 4, a group of teachers are piloting a new unit, Native Americans, Past, Present, and Future, during the 21-22 school year, this school year. Other teachers will be able to continue the work and use these new units in 22-23 school year. In middle school and social studies, we updated the curriculum documents to embed the new 2020 New Jersey Student Learning Standards for social studies. Specifically in 7th grade social studies, we have a new unit of study, Historical Perspectives, that includes a new text, A Different Mirror for Young People. This is multicultural, multi-ethnic history of the United States. And in high school, curriculum and materials for 2 new courses for 11th and 12th grade were a focus. Our social justice, race, class, and gender course is going to use The Color of Law as a text. Work was done on the Research and Social Science Honors course. And a new introductory unit, Historical Perspectives, that includes new texts in 9th, 10th, and 11th grade, including the texts of 1493, in 10th grade, an Indigenous Peoples History of the United States for Young People, and in 11th grade, Stamped, Racism, Anti-Racism, and You, and a Queer History of the United States for Young People. Our equity work continues with our dual language and world language classes. DLI curricula, we finished the 3rd year of the dual language immersion program. We now have target language arts curricula written for kindergarten and 1st grade, content language transfer guides written for 1st, 2nd, and 3rd, and social language pacing guides for grades kindergarten through 3rd grade. Spanish or Chinese literacy and culture curriculum was created to replace Spanish as a special area class for our DLI 2nd and 3rd grade students. The DLI program seeks to support the development of bilingual, multilingual, and biliterate students. So these curricula focus on literacy development and intercultural competence in the target language. And if you click, just to give you that overview of focus on global competence and equity. French 8 revision, the curriculum now includes opportunities for teachers and students to discuss equity in the Francophone world and in our own local communities. In Spanish 4 and 5 in high school, there was a focus on global competence, identity, and the integration of new opportunities for student choice and differentiated learning experiences, assessments, and authentic materials. And finally, in Spanish honors cultural studies, revision of those documents included the recommended texts, which are more complex, consistent with higher proficiency targets, authentic resources that are diverse, and there is opportunity for student choice, reflection, and personal and collective action. As we transition to math, special education, fine and performing arts, and the 21st century life and careers, you will see our revisions were prompted by a change in standards, sequence, or pacing, and were based on our 5-year renewal cycle. And if you just click. Our goal work, however, is ever present. In kindergarten, 1st and 5th grade, in elementary math, the new curriculum reflects an integration across concepts and skills across our math concepts, aligns to the sequencing of our bridges units that are now our new foundational resource. In middle school, there is alignment was the target to ensure standards are addressed for all pathways, from 7th grade math to math 8, or from 7th grade math to algebra 1, all of our students will be prepared. And in algebra, we align sequencing within algebra 1 and algebra 2 courses. Okay. So you can see a revision cycle was what prompted the revision of special education courses, documents, fine and performing arts curriculum, and our 21st century life and careers, as well as new standards. So in special education, the courses listed were revised as part of our cycle. These documents were first created in 2019 and 2020, and therefore we revised them to ensure alignment with implementation. Band, orchestra, and photography were updated to reflect the new standards for visual and performing arts. In addition, photography has a shift in how the course is taught to incorporate digital photography while still retaining the film and darkroom components of the course. And 21st century life and careers, all 3 courses, revisions, included an alignment of standards, pacing, and transition to digital tools. Marketing concepts have been updated to reflect scenario-based and real-world implementation as well. So as I conclude, I want to thank the supervisors of instruction, the curriculum writing teams, the strategic goal teams, and the board curriculum committee. These teams' insight, feedback, skillful work, and support have led to the creation and/or revision of over 80 documents this summer, as well as tonight's overview. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Nathan. Does anybody on the board have any questions? Thanks. All right, Dr. Adderhold, you are up.
Thank you, Ms. Case. Good evening, everyone. Tonight I'm going to give a brief overview of the health and safety protocols. Parents and guardians received an update from me last Friday, from our district nursing coordinator last Thursday. Those materials are available on our district website and have been, again, emailed to all parents. So I want to just remind everyone that we are guided under the rules governed by the state of New Jersey, through the Department of Education and by Governor Murphy, by administrative law that's passed by the legislature and signed by the governor. So we have certain responsibilities to abide by the law, and there's certain things we can and we cannot do. As many of our families are painfully aware, we had a virtual option last year that was allowed by Executive Order 175, I believe it was, by the executive order signed by Governor Murphy. That executive order expired at the conclusion of the 2021 school year. Under New Jersey Administrative Law Code, there is no availability. New Jersey is one of, I think it's 13 or 14 states that does not allow virtual instruction. So there is no provision under code that allows us to do it, and there is no provision under executive order that allows us to do it. So Governor Murphy and the Department of Education, Department of Health, everyone has declared all in, all students. So for this school year, the road forward is the governing document that was sent out on June 28th by the New Jersey Department of Education. It was revised on Friday last week and sent out to the Department of Ed and Department of Health with some very small revisions. It's important to note that in the road forward, the whole document is a mental exercise in recommendations and strategies. There is only one mandate in the entire document, prior to Friday. Before Friday, the only mandate was that everyone wear a mask on a bus. When it came to Friday's document, Executive Order 251 has now been released, and Executive Order 253 has now been released. Executive 251 talks about the mask mandate, and Executive Order 253 it talks about the vaccine requirements for 12 staff members in schools, not just teachers, but all adults in school grounds. That goes into effect October 18th. I'll speak more about how we're implementing it here in WWP. So again, I mentioned Executive Order 251. It calls for students, again, preschool through grade 12, as well as teachers, staff members, visitors, to wear masks inside schools. Vaccines, Executive Order 253, again, now requires, and so we have already notified our staff previously, prior to the executive order, of a vaccine, that we were going to collect vaccine information or ask staff to be tested. The executive order came out about a week after us, and it essentially falls directly in line. We modeled ours after what happened for healthcare workers, and the governor's executive order for educators models after that as well. So if we could flip that. So what we're doing from a district perspective, all employees have to upload their information to a secure employee portal. That information gets accepted, we can sort it, we know how many staff members at all time are vaccinated, we know who's not. That information is secure. There's HIPAA guidance around that. We are not permitted to share that information with parents. That is private medical information. We will not be telling parents if their children's teachers are vaccinated. What parents need to know is that either their child's teacher is vaccinated or they're going through a testing protocol on a weekly basis. So we cannot share that information directly with parents. What I will say on an aggregate is that we know that over 90% of our staff is vaccinated, and we know that over 90% of our high school is vaccinated, high school students, and we know that over 60% of our middle school students are vaccinated. Now that's an important distinction there is sixth graders included in that percentage. Sixth graders are 11 turning 12. So our sixth graders are not vaccine eligible right now for the most part. So 60% means, it's 90+% of our middle, 7th and 8th graders. So we have a very high vaccination rate within our school community that gives us some semblance of comfort. At the same time, no one can be comforted by the Delta variant and all the concerns around breakthrough cases. So we're still taking these healthcare considerations very, very seriously. With respect to weekly tested of unvaccinated individuals, this is specific to the staff. Again, this will be done on a weekly basis. We do have an outside testing company that will be coming on grounds and testing once per week of our district staff members. Regard to physical distancing, again, in the road back, it talks about the idea of consider maintaining 3 feet of distance between students in classrooms. So we are able to accomplish 3 feet in most classrooms. As you can imagine, as our audience here sitting in the cafeteria, trying to socially distance full cafeteria is very difficult. We have taken measures to buy additional furniture. We have taken measures to buy additional air filters. We have taken measures to change some of our lunch cycles. For instance, we've added an extra lunch block in our upper elementary schools. We have changed the high school master schedule to incorporate a second lunch. That is a very big change in our school district. For our high school, we will now not have 1,600 students eating at one time. We have approximately 800 students eating in 2 settings. But because we have multiple eating areas, it does allow us to socially distance very differently by having 2 lunch periods. That will cause some confusion in the high school schedule the first week or 2, but we're very confident our students and our staff will adjust to this very quickly. Students essentially could have different lunch period each day, depending on when their cycle class meets for the 4th block classroom in the afternoon. Will determine which lunch period you eat. From a health and safety guidelines in the classroom, physical distancing to the maximum extent possible. Obviously, from a respiratory etiquette, temperature checks, social distancing. Some might say, well, why do temperature checks? That's a lagging indicator. But what it does do is it does provide a check at the door, and parents know we're going to be checking every day. And if we do catch temperature, kids are going home, and they're going to be excluded pending they're going through a testing cycle. Social distancing and contact tracing. Contact tracing, we met with the health department today. We are working diligently, especially with West Windsor Health Department. Again, tremendous partners throughout this entire pandemic. Respiratory and hand washing and masking are going to be critical components of all the work we do. The Executive Order 251 about masking is very specific to indoor versus outdoor. Outdoor, there is still opportunities for students and staff that are participating in outdoor activities to take masks off. That is going to be a personal choice, but we are not mandating masking outside, especially for the aerobic activities and health and PE classes in particular, and recesses, recess program, where students are obviously potentially being physical and increasing their respiratory function. So we do have to be mindful of that. There are some masking exemptions that are all medically based. They're all very well documented, but they're very few and far between. But there are some students that may have a physical need not to be masked. When that happens, there's other mitigation strategies that will be very specific to that classroom or for that child. And that does not just, it's not just anyone who wants to not wear a mask doesn't wear one. We'll be very much upholding a mask mandate. Air quality measures. This has been a question parents have asked about what are some of the things that the district has done. We did go through what's called an ESEP, or an Energy Savings Improvement Program, as well as the district referendum, as the community supported us several years ago. Between those two programs, the district has been doing about $40 million worth of HVAC improvements. Much of that work is underway or being completed. In addition to that, the Board of Education supported the administration in putting bipolar ionizers in all HVAC units throughout the district. And that work was accomplished during the last school year. All that meets the UL standards. And then we also went further and we updated digital controls. We also now have increased the number of cycles of air in classrooms. And we have also gone forward and put standalone HEPA filtration systems in every classroom space or every space where students are present. So these efforts have been made. We've invested hundreds of thousands of dollars in HEPA filters throughout the district, as well as over 1.4 million in bipolar ionizers throughout the district. Again, by increasing our controls, we're also able to increase the cycle of airflow. Now, some have asked about, can we open windows? Well, the answer is yes, but. So we've been able to increase the airflow and the air exchanges by increasing the controls. So when you start opening the windows, now you start throwing the balance of the air quality in the room off. You actually mess with the programming of the system, and you introduce other potential challenges of moisture and pollens and whatnot. Now, pollen compared to COVID, right? But we're talking about the air cycles already happening through the control systems. Also, there's a safety component about propping doors, propping windows. So we're not recommending doors and windows being propped, because we have taken mitigation strategies already to increase the airflow into those classrooms. So again, that we believe has been mitigated by the strategies and the specific modifications that have been made to the classrooms. Regarding screening PPE and symptoms, there was a daily health form last year for anyone that came in district, that came on grounds. And I can firmly say that the daily health screening form was a labored process for families and staff, and it resulted in catching 0 individuals identifying themselves with COVID that then showed up at school. What it did do was individuals that filled out the form and had symptoms or presented COVID-based symptoms, they stayed home. So what we're asking is for individuals that are presenting symptoms to continue to fill the form out. But for on a daily basis to ask 9,500 families to fill out forms unnecessarily is not necessary. What we're asking is for families to fill out the form. So it's a passive-based form. Fill it out when you need to fill it out, when there's symptoms. That will trigger potentially a conversation with the nurses. That will trigger follow-up. But what it does is it's just it's an opportunity for us to engage with families and support you, but also to keep our classroom safe. Temp checks, as I said, will occur daily, and temp checks did sometimes catch. And families are going to need to really work with us. This idea that we can sort of dose our kids and send them in, give them some Tylenol and send them in, and that's okay. That's not okay. We need to make sure that families are playing straight by the rules and that families are keeping sick children home. Now, there are some availability for what happened. The question becomes what happens if someone's COVID positive? And I'll talk about that in a moment with respect to access to school. So anyone who has symptoms, students or staff, should stay home. Parents do need to know that we are tremendously challenged with the number of substitutes available to us right now. Prior to the pandemic, we had over 300 active substitutes. Right now, we have about 30. And you look at that and you say, who wants to necessarily be a substitute in a school district during a pandemic, right? So we are going to have tremendous staffing challenges should we need to quarantine classrooms, or should we have teachers that are ill, or if teachers' families have illness, because teachers are allowed to have family illness days and personal days. So we could have times where we are scrambling to cover classes. And so we're just going to need parents to continue to work with us and understand that we're going to do our level best. And at the end of the day, there'll be an adult in a classroom making sure children are safe. And what the instruction might look like that day may be very varied based on what's happening in the district. So we will go through a process of contact tracing, and we had a very good meeting today with the health department to make sure that we were all on the same board with the same understanding with our district nurse coordinator and our director of counseling, health and wellness, and assistant superintendent, and our labor relations specialist, our HR director, to make sure that we all had the same understanding, because the rules applying to contact tracing apply to the adults as well as the children, and they are varied by vaccinated versus unvaccinated. And quite frankly, now under the road forward, which came out revised on Friday, whether you're wearing a mask or a well-fitted mask in socially distanced matters. So now the rules under the CDC for K-12 schools also insert masking as part of the contact tracing component. So that is a new twist for us this school year as we work through contact tracing. Regarding contact tracing and quarantining, really there are multiple symptoms. There's essentially two columns. If you have any two symptoms listed in bullet 1 versus any one symptom in bullet 2, there is a need to quarantine. Now, those are symptoms that could fit numerous illnesses, right? That could be COVID, that could be the flu, that could be bronchitis, that could be strep throat for many of those symptoms. So until an individual is diagnosed COVID positive, that is when it triggers virtual instruction. A student who is sick, that is sick and COVID negative, is not entitled under the road forward to virtual instruction. And I know that's going to be very difficult for families, because you could have two children both home ill, one student diagnosed COVID or is COVID excluded because of a close contact or travel, they're allowed to virtually be in the room. Another student at home with the flu, they are not allowed to be in the classroom virtually. So there is a distinction in the road forward that is made around three components. One is a declared public health emergency, one is a declared state of emergency, and the third is the authority granted by a public health official. And that is specific to not our school doctor or not our school nurses, but the public health official for the township or the county. In West Windsor-Plainsboro, we have both. We have both a health department for West Windsor, and then we have a county health official for Middlesex County. So there is also this distinction between unvaccinated students in travel and, quite frankly, unvaccinated staff. This impacts as well. But for students, and this was the message that was specifically sent to parents from our nurse coordinator, we need to be mindful that if an unvaccinated child travels outside of, and again, this is every child, elementary school and most of the 6th grade, travels out, and there's a handful of middle school and high schoolers, 7th through 12th grade, that this applies to. If you travel outside of Pennsylvania, New York, New Jersey, or Delaware, you now subject yourself to a quarantine based on travel. So an unvaccinated, a family that has vaccinated and unvaccinated children, I have 4 school-age children, 1 college-age, but 4 school-age children. If we traveled with them, the 2 high schoolers would be fine if we went to Virginia. The 2 elementary would have to quarantine. So even within a family, this could hit you differently. So we just need to understand that there are steps you can take upon return from that travel. A student then would become eligible because upon return, the district is then excluding because of COVID-based travel. But when you're on vacation, or when you're, and I hate to, but maybe you're seeing an ill family member, but you're still not in district, you're out of the state, you're not allowed to trigger virtual instruction at that point. It's upon return to the district that you're then, so whether it's international or whether it's, to Connecticut, the same rules would apply. Transportation's another place, right? The two places parents have said, like, what's happening in the cafeteria, what's happening on the bus, right? Places where we know large groups of students are going to come together. We have 54 passenger buses. There are 54 seats being doled out to students. We're not socially distancing on buses. Every student has access to a seat that's eligible. So masking is universally required, no different than subways, trains, planes. School buses fall under the same rule of the National Transportation Safety Board, and all students, vaccinated or unvaccinated, and all drivers and all staff members, a coach on a trip, everyone has to wear a mask when on a school bus. The other thing that we have to do is, of course, the high surface touch cleaning, as well as propping windows or cropping windows to get airflow and cross ventilation. Unlike some districts around the country that deny this, we are every student who's eligible, which is every student, is now eligible for a daily meal at no cost. The district is upholding that. So parents should know that there will be a series of meal choices that they'll be able to select. We're actually sending out a newsletter later this week, which has the hyperlinks to how you do this, and you register your choices. Families are still absolutely free to send a meal in for their child, to send bagged lunches in, but there will be pre-selected meal options that you will be able to choose, and then they'll be available for students to pick. And so that is very different than in previous years, where only students that qualify for free and reduced lunch were eligible for a daily meal under the, I forget which agency, was it the Food and Drug Administration, or regardless, federal organization is allowing for reimbursement for all students to participate in meal programs this year, and we're absolutely upholding that. I spoke to this already about remote instruction, the 180-day requirement. This is the part where if you're excluded for a COVID-based exclusion, you're then eligible to have virtual instruction. And that's what I spoke to already. I think I spoke to this exact quote. From a visitor's perspective, we still will be allowing visitors into school, but on a limited basis. We're asking visitors, obviously, have to uphold the face covering rule unless it inhibits someone's health or if they're under 2 years of age. Non-essential visitors and volunteers will be limited. We're really going to try to limit visitors from the school day. From a volunteer perspective, all volunteers are going to have to demonstrate proof of vaccination with an attestation form and actually providing us proof of their vaccination documentation. So an example would be very much the pre-K2, K3 schools have used PTA volunteers for the opening to help guide the little ones to their classes. As we get name tags on upon entrance, we've relied on 12 or 15 PTA representatives. We're still going to do that this year, except every PTA rep that's coming on grounds is going to have to show us proof of vaccination. They will have to be masked, and so we'll have to follow our rules. If they're not going to, then they're not going to be welcome to participate in that. And then if we could flip to the next one, and this will be in the newsletter as well, we are going to be significantly limiting some of the evening activities. We're really looking at preservation of student-based activities at all costs, and that might mean that there's some families' participation in that. But we're also going to be limiting large-scale adult events, back to school night, for instance. That will remain virtual this year. I can't think of any good reason to bring upwards of 3,000 parents to high school north or south with another 150 staff members for a back-to-school night and think that that's a good idea in the midst of a pandemic. Parent-teacher conferences will be virtual, right? So we're going to PTA, PTSA meetings, full-scale meetings will be virtual. But there may be some specific events that are held in conjunction with the school that will be held. That's where the principals and administration will be working through the health programs with both Barbara Gould, the Director of Counseling, Health and Wellness, with Lee McDonald, our Assistant Superintendent, with myself and with others to make sure that all the rules and mitigation strategies are put in place. College fairs I just want to mention because I know this will be a pain point for some parents, but college fairs this year will be limited to students only. We all want to see the college fairs, and I have a 12th grader, so I get it. But what we really want to make sure is that our kids have an opportunity to work with and see the college admissions officers. What we can't do is overcrowd the space with a lot of adults that are really well-intended and want to support their children, but we need to make sure that we're socially distancing as best as possible. Anyone who's been to a college fair knows that there is no space when you add all the adults, extra adults into the room. What I would say to parents is there's tremendous opportunities for college programming, online and virtual programming. The colleges have really adapted in this time period with virtual affairs, so there is still an opportunity to support our children. We just have to do it a little different this year. If we could flip it. Might be the last one? No. That's it. Okay. So that's the last slide. There's a lot to speak about, and I just would like to stop with a thank you to our Restart Reopening Committee that ran this summer, our leadership team that has worked incredibly diligently throughout the duration of the last school year as well as the last 18 months plus this past summer to make sure that our schools were ready to receive our staff and students, our staff tomorrow. They've done this as many have had ongoing construction throughout to improve our facilities, and that's been an additional stressor, but also a blessing to get the work moved forward. It's been a tremendous collective effort. We have tremendous respect for our school community and the support that they gave us over the last 18 months. We ask for their continued support as we step forward into a little bit of unknown times going forward in the 21-22 school year. So with that will conclude the presentation unless there's any questions from the board.
Thank you, Dr. Adderhold.
Thank you.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Just one.
I'm sorry, Boyd.
Just wanted to make sure I understood. So for a student who is going to be receiving virtual instruction due to any COVID, they must have a COVID positive result, or is?
For the question regarding a student that will receive virtual instruction for COVID-based reason, there's 3 designations. 1, you have a COVID positive diagnosis. 2, you have a COVID-based exclusion based on a close contact of a COVID positive household member, or you've gone through contact tracing, and that primarily will be unvaccinated students, for the most part, unvaccinated students. 3, COVID-based exclusion based on travel. So you've traveled, you're an unvaccinated staff member, a family's unvaccinated, or student is unvaccinated. They've traveled outside the 4 states, again, New York, New Jersey, obviously, PA, and Delaware. You've traveled outside of those 4 states. Now you're COVID-based exclusion. You're unvaccinated. Vaccinated can travel anywhere nationally, and quite frankly, many places internationally. Right now under the current rules. We have to be mindful that the rules change very frequently, so we have to constantly monitor those rules. And I wouldn't be surprised that as things move forward this year, we could see further restrictions, or we could see the close contact tracing definitions change as they did last year. We are understanding that there may be another health update that comes out from the Department of Health, potentially. Last year they sent it out on September 10th, 1 week into school. So we'll see when that happens, but we haven't seen that update yet, just the joint letter with the Department of Ed at this point. Right now, one question we're asking is, a year ago when we went to code orange or code red, based on the Cali score, you would contact trace to close contacts, right, and they would be excluded. Right now, there's some question mark about that because of vaccination status and masking. So we are anxiously waiting to see if the health department gives any additional information. Quite frankly, the local health departments are waiting anxiously for that information as well. So it's not just schools that are waiting, it's local public health officials are waiting. It's a real failure of government, quite frankly, that we don't have that guidance at this point.
Dr. Adderhold, so just a follow-up question on that. So for the virtual learning, how
how long would that last? Is that until you see a negative test? And then if, that's assuming that's for someone who's COVID positive or but COVID excluded.
Right.
Is that a 10 days?
Yeah, so the rule right now is 10 days for a COVID-based exclusion. For both COVID positive, close contact tracing, Dr. McDonald's at 14 still for close contact, or 10? 14. So if you're a close contact, it's a 14-day exclusion. If it's based on travel or based on a COVID positive, it's 10. So it does differ. We should also just note from a technological standpoint, all students 4th grade through 12th will have devices issued. Pre-K 3, they're in the classrooms, but we will also have devices available for families to check out if their children need a device at home and they're excluded. So we have extra devices available for families if they're excluded.
And can you let us know what will virtual learning look like for those students?
Yeah, I mean, virtual learning, last year there was different models, and you said some 100% virtual classes. That can't possibly happen this year. It's going to be synchronously into the classroom. So last year we often thought about how do we bring the teacher into the home. Now we're thinking about how do we bring the student into the classroom. So there's some extra devices in the classroom and some extra training that's been going on with respect to sound systems, extra computers, whatnot. And it's going to be an evolution over time. There'll be some training over the next 2 days that are professional development days for our staff. So this is something that, again, when we talk about sort of grace for our staff, this is something that some staff members lived in duality last year. Other staff members, this will be the first time that they have to teach in this modality, and it'll be a learning curve. And so it will not be the 100% virtual class or an independent teacher assigned and kids go out to another teacher. It'll be working with their classroom teacher and essentially zooming into the room. And Louisa, I think I saw, I'm sorry, Dana?
So can you just repeat the percentage of students that we know right now that are vaccinated at the
High school's over
level?
90%, middle school's over 60%.
Right, so it's 7th and 8th grade are over 90%.
Correct, because the
Right.
middle school, remember, the
Right.
11-year-olds turning 12 are your 6th graders, so they're not vaccine, majority are not vaccine eligible right now. We do have a vaccine clinic right here at Grover tomorrow night on the September 1st. We also have a second one on September 22nd, again here at Grover. If a family was to miss the first one but came to September 22nd, they will absolutely administer the first dose, but they will then work to support you to get an appointment at another site for the second shot. Something else we'll be watching is boosters, and we're expecting some kind of guidance coming out around whether it's going to be 8 months, 5 months, 6 months booster. But many of our staff are at a point where our nurses in particular are at an 8-month part right now. Nurses were in a high priority category early on. And many of our staff, and then by the time we hit October, November, will be eligible for 8 months, let alone 5 months. So something we'll be very mindful to support our staff is to make sure that we're opening up vaccine opportunities. Grover's a great space for a vaccine clinic because you go cafeteria, gym, and then outside. So it's a nice circuit. And the health department is welcome to work with us, and we're happy to support them for community-based vaccine clinics as well, and they know that.
So first off, I wanted to thank you, Dr. Adderhold, and the staff. I know that it has taken an incredible amount of work to get to this part, and I'm impressed that you're still standing. And I have one question. What does it take to become a substitute teacher in the district? I mean, what does it require if there are people watching this on video tomorrow? What does it take to be eligible to be a substitute?
Thank you for the question and the compliment. From a vaccination from a substitute standpoint, in the state of New Jersey, to become a substitute teacher, there's really only 3 things you now need to be. You need to have 60 college credits. You need to be you have to be past your fingerprint check, and you need to now be vaccinated, which is a new requirement. So you can get a county substitute certificate, or if you're eligible, you could also have a teacher certificate and then substitute with a teacher certificate as well. Our community is highly educated, and so I would venture to guess any community member that wants to be a substitute is pretty much eligible right now. So we absolutely need support, and if families, and it's not just substitutes, it's lunch aides, it's bus aides, it's it's cafeteria aides. I mean, we need support all the way around, and very hard to fill positions right now. And this is not just WWP. This is a statewide concern. And there's a statewide shortage in teachers right now. There are positions that are available today in WWP, and there's positions available in Princeton right now, and Montgomery, and Lawrence, and all my superintendent friends are looking for staff right now. And we're all trying to acquire the staff from each other, which leaves vacancies for the other district, which is a really not healthy place to be as a state. There's nursing shortages all over the state. We're very fortunate that we have all of our nursing positions filled, but that is another area of shortage. There's special education staff members, especially the highly qualified requirements for special ed. There's a devastating shortage for special educators. The one thing I failed to mention, and just a thing for families to know, our student information system syncs with the state vaccination system for students. So the numbers I'm giving you are not made up numbers. They are live time as students become fully vaccinated. Every time there's a shot, one shot or a second shot, and the vaccination status updates in the system. So we know exactly which students are vaccinated that are 12 and up. So that is something our nurses, it's in our nurses module, so it's protected health information. Our nurses have access to that, and they can run percentage reports. So they would be able to tell me the percentages without necessarily telling me which each individual children. But we are going to need to know that when we contact trace. So that's another just piece of the puzzle for contact tracing. Remember, the rules right now around the CDC and the New Jersey Department of Health is that if you are vaccinated and you are exposed to a COVID positive, you do not quarantine. So you could have direct exposure to a COVID positive and you would not you would not quarantine. And so that impacts how you contact trace. So there's a lot of evolution of rules that have happened over the last couple months, last 18 months. And I have every expectation they'll continue to evolve. And some of the things I said tonight may be completely they might be outdated already, quite frankly. Graylin, please.
If a staff member falls under the COVID-based exclusion and they're feeling okay, are they able to teach virtually? How would that work?
Right, so that's a tricky one because technically under the rules, there's no such thing as a virtual teaching placement. So a staff member that is excluded is ill, is out sick or out using personal time. If a classroom, so now the conversation with some of my colleagues over there at the middle table, which are our WWPA partners, and they've been great partners throughout, is a conversation around, one, is the staff member well enough to teach, right? Because if they are COVID exposed, and let's say they're not COVID positive, but they've been exposed, they may be feeling ill and they might not be eligible and be able to teach. But a year ago, we would flip a classroom to virtual. We could technically flip a classroom to virtual, and at that point, we may have then a virtual placement. And I would surmise that we have a virtual placement in that time, and that we'd be able to then move a teacher to virtual placement. But that's something that still needs to be worked through, and that's an ongoing dialogue and discussion. But the key point to that is, if the classroom is excluded, the students, irregardless if the teacher's able to, the students might all still be virtual. So you may have a first grade class that has had, that you can't ascertain whether or not there's been enough social distancing of 15 minutes in a 24-hour period because of lunchroom, because of recess, because of PE, because of the bus. And you may have a classroom flip virtual. Now, if the teacher is vaccinated, that teacher may be in the classroom teaching virtually, or that teacher may be excluded because they're unvaccinated and not feeling well, or they might be excluded because they're vaccinated and not feeling well. Because if they're symptomatic, right? So there's a whole litany. It's really very much case specific. So there, as we talk to the health department today, when you get to quarantining, it's gray. It gets gray quick because it becomes fact sensitive. And it's not something that I can just write a letter to the community and just make it clear of what actually is happening. We're going to have to look at every situation and look at the fact pattern and try to understand what's in front of us, contact trace, talk to the staff members that are involved, and then make a determination about how we make sure that classroom is protected. And that's the staff member and that's the kids, right? It's both. So we have to, it's, contact tracing is a labor-intensive, case-by-case situation. And a credit to our nurses and a credit to our administrators for all the work they do. Like, a lot of times by the time they're going through the central office with the fact pattern, they've done a lot. We're talking through it, but it's a lot of work throughout that they're doing as they're trying to run a school day. You know, it's very different going into this year as we're at 100% capacity. It just is. And so, you know, the students are yearning for normalcy, and we know that, and we're going to do our best to try to deliver. But it's going to look and feel different. Like, look at the room, we're all masking, right? That's going to feel different. And with that, I'll conclude it, and happy to answer or speak to things at the end if there's other comments I need to respond to. All right, thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Adderhold. Thank you for your presentation and piggybacking off of what Louisa said for your leadership in making all these plans. It's incredible. All right. Now it's time for other people to talk. First opportunity for public comment. The board invites thoughts and reactions on agenda items and items of concern from members of our community who are present. Each participant is asked to give his or her name and address prior to making a statement, which shall be limited to 3 minutes in accordance with Board Policy 0167. All statements shall be directed to the presiding officer. This public comment period shall be limited to 60 minutes. No one tonight? All right, then we will close the... Is there someone? No? Okay, that closes the first opportunity for public comment. The board did meet in committee.
Bless you.
The board did meet in committee last week, so we have, oh my God, I'm fogging up. The board met in committee last week, so we have committee reports. Tonight we will begin with the report coming out of the Administration and Facilities Committee, and for that I will turn it over to the committee chair, Tony Flores.
Thank you. The board met last Tuesday on August 24th. We began with the discussion of the updates to the New Jersey Department of Ed Road Forward Plan and recently released school guidance, but that was a week ago, so that was old news, and you've heard something much better from Dr. Adderhold, much more recent, so we won't go into that any longer. We discussed a number of policies. They're in the agenda. They're items for the second reading. We recommend their approval. There are a number of items for first reading. If any board member has any questions or comments on them, please get them to either me or Dr. McDonald in the next 2 weeks or so before our next Facilities Committee meeting. Then the committee discussed, or had a conversation concerning the use of district facilities by school and community organizations and the potential impact during a full in-person review this fall. Facility use rates from local school districts were analyzed for a possible rate increase in light of increased security and increased cleaning costs incurred by the district. The committee then reviewed the nursing services plan for the 2021-2022 school year to provide health services district-wide, and they're on the agenda for tonight's meeting, and we recommend their approval. The committee reviewed a memorandum of understanding for the Send Hunger Packing program with Mercer Street Friends to provide services during the upcoming school year to Dutch Neck, Maurice Hawk, Millstone River, Town Center, Village, and Wyckoff schools. And we recommend the approval of the MOU on tonight's agenda also. We discussed the special education review. These review subcommittees met on August 18th to discuss the action plans that will address the recommendations from the Public Consulting Group report. The district will present the final report and action plan to the board in September. Concerning the referendum, preparation to welcome back students and staff for the 2021-2022 school year has begun. At Grover, final inspections are complete with construction cleaning and furniture installation underway. Parking lot upgrades and new sidewalks are completed. Community, where renovations continue in the new science wing, media center, gymnasium, and main office. At High School South, inspection and construction cleaning is started in the guidance offices, media center, playhouse, and life skills classrooms. At North, HVAC work continues with the installation of rooftop units for the auditorium and pool area underway. Rooftop units and ductwork installation continues at Millstone River to finalize the upgrades to the HVAC. Then Dr. McDonald, concerning the equity, shared that members of the district equity team facilitated multiple professional development experiences at the district administrative retreat that went from August 10th to the 13th. Themes included equity and inclusivity as related to staff professional development, curriculum and instruction, restorative practices, and the interaction of equity and social and emotional learning. Finally, the district continued to update a number of job descriptions, and there are 14 descriptions on tonight's agenda that we recommend your approval. Our next committee meeting is going to be on September 14th at the district office. Any questions? Thank you.
All right, next we will hear the report coming out of the Curriculum Committee, and I will turn it over now to the committee chair, Dana Krug.
Hi, good evening. Can you hear me? Okay. Okay, the Curriculum Committee met on, The Curriculum Committee met on August 24th. Carl Cooper, the supervisor for K-12 Social Studies, joined us via Zoom and shared the work happening for the Social Justice High School course. As a result of research and the curriculum writing process, a new text is recommended for adoption for this class, The Color of Law by Richard Rothstein. Next, Dr. Nathan shared the presentation that will be used for all staff during the opening days this school year, which are tomorrow and the next day. These are both professional development days. The presentation is focused on district strategic goals. Dr. Nathan also shared the summer professional development sessions that took place throughout the summer. Over 70 sessions took place, allowing staff many opportunities to learn and grow professionally over the summer. Dr. Nathan presented her merit goal for the 21-22 school year. Her goal is centered around the newly revised K-5 report cards, which will be utilized this school year. The committee recommends approval of this merit goal. Dr. Nathan reviewed with the committee the new and/or revised curricula on tonight's agenda to approve. She showed us a draft version of tonight's presentation on the curricular updates, and the committee provided feedback. This presentation included details from the curriculum revision and creation work within the 84 curriculum documents recommended for approval for the implementation in the 21-22 school year. A presentation for the board was created to summarize the curricular work and was delivered tonight by Dr. Nathan. The committee recommends approval of the new and/or revised curriculum documents. And I'm sparing you reading the 84 courses that were listed on the agenda. The committee recommends approval of the fourth year of a 5-year shared services agreement between Plainsboro Township and the West Windsor-Plainsboro School District for cable television. The committee recommends approval of the submission of the West Windsor-Plainsboro Regional School District Board of Education's District Professional Development Plan and District Mentoring Plan Statement of Assurance for this upcoming school year to the Department of Education pursuant to state code. The committee also recommends approval of the disposal of many obsolete instructional materials in accordance with state regulations. Over 3,000 books from Millstone River, 216 books from High School North, 251 books from Grover, 1,576 books from Village, almost 2,000 books from Maurice Hawk, 5,144 books from Town Center, and 574 books from Community Middle School. These are all from the media centers. All of these items meet the criteria of either being so outdated as to no longer serve as worthy instructional tools, or are so worn and damaged as to preclude effective use and economical repair or restoration. The committee recommends approval of additional community education fall 2021 youth virtual enrichment programs, including Minecraft modders, Roblox makers, YouTube content creators, and Minecraft Redstone engineers. The committee recommends approval of the submission of the entitlement grants for $441,655 for the Elementary and Secondary Education Act. It's called ESEA, grant from the state of New Jersey for the fiscal year 2021. And then that's broken out by the various Title I, Title II, and Title III, and Title IV. The Curriculum Committee recommends approval for 3 professional development opportunities, reading recovery, professional development, and technical support with the Flemington-Raritan Regional School District for 9 reading recovery teachers at a cost of $8,100 plus mileage. Reading recovery training, professional development, and technical support with Flemington-Raritan Regional School District, a portion of which is paid directly to Lesley University, for 2 new reading recovery teachers at a cost of $15,150 per teacher plus mileage. And then Teachers College Reading and Writing Project to supply 80 tickets for attendance by teachers and administrators to virtual professional development workshops at Teachers College at Columbia University during this school year at a cost of $4,000, which is paid through the 2022 Every Student Succeeds Act Title II grant funds. The committee recommends approval for the consultant Emily Strang Campbell to provide workshops throughout this coming school year to high school language arts teachers entitled Engaging All Readers in High-Level Literacy Work at a cost of $1,500 per day, not to exceed 4 days. The committee will next meet on September 14th.
Are there any questions about the Curriculum Committee report? All right, I'm going to turn it over to Louisa Ho, the chair of the Finance Committee, to get that report.
Great, thank you. The Finance Committee met on August 24th. First, the committee reviewed agenda items for tonight's board meeting. We reviewed the monthly financial statements. Then the committee discussed the Wyckoff bid opening and the use of capital reserve funds as designated in the annual budget to supplement the referendum funds. Tonight's agenda includes awarding the Wyckoff bid. Also on the agenda for approval are several change orders. 2 change orders are for the referendum projects. One is to renovate the nurses suite in High School South, and the other is to upgrade to quarry tile in the kitchen at Community Middle School. There are also change orders on the agenda for the Energy Savings Improvement Program. These are for ventilation improvements, including a new cooling tower at Village, replacement of additional HVAC units at Dutch Neck, installation of a new magnetic bearing chiller at Town Center, and the installation of bipolar air ionizers in the expansion areas of Community and High School South. Staff reported that no bids were received for a recent time and materials boiler maintenance bid, so this is not on tonight's agenda. Other motions on the agenda include submitting the plans for the Wyckoff expansion to the state for their final approval, disposing of obsolete equipment throughout the district, approving additional transportation routes for special education, and authorizing travel and related expenses for professional development. Next, the committee discussed the 2021 year-end audit. The audit continues and is going well. The administration met with the auditor to discuss the self-insured health benefit program and the funds available to fund the reserves that we need for that. Staff provided updates on summer projects. The district purchased 40 water refill stations that are being installed. New flooring, both carpet and vinyl composite tile, is being installed in various classrooms and hallways at Millstone, Dutch Neck Village, and the Wyckoff Annex. Renovation of a high school north classroom for a special education program has taken place. New flooring and stairwell treads have been installed in the stairwells at South, and various classrooms are being repainted. The district is awaiting new playground equipment for Millstone and will be procuring new playground equipment for Dutch Neck and Village. Sidewalk and curbing repairs have taken place at Grover, Dutch Neck, Transportation, Town Center, and South. At High School South, the main gym floor is being sanded and painted. For Grover and Village, new bleachers have been ordered and are expected to arrive in October. New window shades have been installed in the Dutch Neck Cafeteria, Millstone, and Wyckoff. Next, staff updated the committee on referendum projects. Fire alarm projects in Community and South are continuing in preparation for final inspection. At North, HVAC work continues with the placement of the final rooftop units and installation of piping and ductwork. Ductwork to 2 of the units is being delayed due to supply chain issues. At Millstone, HVAC interior ductwork and plumbing installation continues. Testing and balancing of the new systems has started. There have been unit ventilator motor issues due to new controls. This issue is currently being worked on. Additional supports are being installed for one of the rooftop units for additional stability, while we are waiting for additional ductwork materials to arrive. At South, in the additions, installation of windows and external sheathing continues, as well as the construction of internal walls. Where the building is being renovated, casework and ceiling tiles are being installed. At Grover, final inspections occurred, so the final cleaning and move-in process has started. At Community, the top coat of asphalt has been applied to the existing teachers' parking lot, and concrete sidewalks have been poured. Excavation of the front drive loops continues. The dirt is being hauled to the mound behind Millstone River. In the renovation areas, casework, VCT, and carpet tile installation continues. The new gym floor is being prepped for installation. Renovation continues in the weight room, kitchen, fitness center, and gym storage. Work on the new high school north dance studio will begin in the coming weeks. The administration is recommending that we award the Wyckoff expansion project. We will need to supplement the referendum funds with capital reserve funds, as was described in the annual budget. Staff have confirmed this approach with bond counsel, general counsel, and the auditor. Next, staff updated the committee on the remaining energy savings improvement program projects. These projects are wrapping up in the district with punch list items, programming, and commissioning still in the works. At South, the combined heat and power system is awaiting final inspection. Minor repairs have been made to a few pieces of equipment that required repair. Some HVAC equipment at South and Community was shut down to reduce wear and tear on the new equipment due to dust from the referendum expansion project. The equipment was restarted when the dusty work was completed. Condensation was found on some of the HVAC piping, and upon investigation, there were doors open for construction that led to this condition. All solar panel installation is complete with final inspection needed for the high school north equipment, and there are change orders on the agenda to do additional HVAC improvements as mentioned earlier. Next, staff provided an update regarding transportation. At this time, all outsourced routes are covered by subcontractors, and district service routes have drivers. Woohoo! They've been very busy this summer. All right. The district food service director has resigned. Her last day will be December 22nd. The freezer boxes at Dutch Neck and Village are in need of replacement. Prices are being sought, and the work will be completed during the school year. Dr. Adderhold updated the committee on the school reopening plan. The administration has received minimal calls regarding expected protocols. The state has shared expectations regarding the very limited use of virtual learning. The administration has a process in place to review medical requests for virtual learning. The district's doctor will review these requests as well, and the governor has released the state's vaccine mandate. Dr. Russo has achieved his merit goal for the 2021 school year with the acceptance of the Certificate of Excellence Award from the ASBO International, and there is a motion on the agenda to approve submission of his 21-22 goal to the county office for approval. And the committee will next meet on Tuesday, September 14th. It's actually hard doing this through the mask.
If you listen to those reports, you get a sense of just how much work happens over the summer. We're now on to the consent agenda. That's the portion of our agenda where we get to vote. First items up are administration, but before I call for a motion on that, I'm going to turn it over to the board attorney who has some information for us.
Yeah, Madam President, there's just one other addition, just for item A7, under the first readings of policies and regulations. We'll also need to add Regulation 7510.01, use of school facilities, COVID addendum. That's also listed in emergency adoption, but it's also being listed as first reading tonight as well.
Thank you, Mark. Take this off because I'm logging up and I can't read the agenda. So with that change, I also have another addition on item A2. We need to add in case number 222063, HSN 0825-2021. So with that case number, what Mark just talked about, plus the purple addendum, could I please get a motion on all of that, plus numbers 1 through 16? Robin and Martin, are there any questions or comments on the administration items? Thank you, Chris.
Okay, we'll start with Mr. Flores.
Yes.
Hold on a second. Next is Ms. Ho.
Yes, but I abstain on 7510.
Then Ms. Krug.
Yes.
Ms. McEwen.
Yes.
Then Ms. Maliga.
Yes.
Mr. Whitfield.
Yes.
Ms. Zovich.
Yes.
Ms. Juliana.
Yes?
And Ms. Case.
Yes. Can I please get a motion on curriculum and instruction items 1 through 9? Dana and Graylin, are there any questions or comments on the curriculum items?
Okay, we'll start with Ms. Ho.
Yes.
Then Ms. Krug.
With the creaky mic. Yes.
Oh, creaky. Ms. McEwen.
Yes.
Ms. Maliga.
Yes.
Mr. Whitfield.
Yes.
Ms. Zovich.
Yes.
Mr. Flores.
Yes.
Ms. Juliana.
Yes?
Ms. Case.
Yes. Can I please get a motion on finance items 1 to 22 plus our blue addendum? Louisa and Loy, are there any questions or comments on the finance items?
Okay, we'll start with Ms. Krug.
Oh, my.
Yes.
Ms. McEwen.
Yes.
Ms. Maliga.
Yes.
Mr. Whitfield.
Yes.
Ms. Zovich.
Yes.
Mr. Flores.
Yes.
Ms. Ho.
Yes.
Ms. Juliana.
Yes?
And Ms. Case.
Yes. Could I please get a motion on personnel items 1 through 3 plus the green addendum? Tony and Rachel, are there any questions or comments on the personnel items?
Okay, we'll start with Ms. McEwen.
Yes.
Ms. Maliga.
Yes.
Mr. Whitfield.
Yes.
Ms. Zovich.
Yes.
Mr. Flores.
Yes.
Ms. Ho.
Yes.
Ms. Krug.
Yes.
Ms. Juliana.
Yes.
And Ms. Case.
Yes. Among the things that we just voted on in that personnel agenda item was one retirement that I would like to acknowledge. Terry DiVincenzo is an instructional assistant at Town Center, and she's retiring after 18 years with the district. I'd like to wish her all the best in her retirement and thank her for her work in our district. Could I please get a motion to approve the minutes from our July 27th and August 10th meetings? Martin and Dana, are there any questions or comments about the minutes? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Are there any opposed or abstentions?
I'll have to abstain for the July 27th meeting.
I have to abstain as well for July 27th.
Did you get both of those, Chris?
I did.
Thank you. Do we have any liaison reports? Yes, we do, because I have one. I am the liaison to the PTA, and I have something to report on that. So as if the PTAs don't have enough to do during the school year, in last year's extremely challenging year, the leaders of the Millstone River School PTA partnered with school administrators, teachers, and parents, and chose to take on additional work by participating in the National PTA's School of Excellence program. The National PTA School of Excellence designation is awarded to those PTAs and schools that demonstrate significant strengthening of family-school partnerships through an extensive application process. In choosing to work towards this School of Excellence designation, the Millstone River PTA made a year-long commitment to identify and implement action plans aimed at school improvement. Over the course of the 2020-2021 school year, the Millstone River PTA developed programs that strengthened family engagement, promoted community, collaboration, and family-school connection, conducted surveys and took actions based on parent and student feedback, and through a variety of initiatives, empowered the voices of the students of the Millstone River School. Every meeting they had and every action that they took strived to be impactful, inclusive, individualized, and integrated. I'm honored that I was able to be a part of the School of Excellence team, and that gave me a front row seat to witness the hard work and passion of the Millstone River School PTA. Back in June, when the team submitted their application to the National PTA, I sent an email that said, in part, the work that PTAs do matters and makes a difference. All of you deserve a standing ovation for what you took on with the School of Excellence initiative. Your enthusiasm and dedication to your school community is both inspiring and noteworthy. I congratulate you on being amazing Millstone River School citizens and role models, and as far as I'm concerned, you are winners. Tonight, I am happy to report that the National PTA agreed with me. Earlier this month, the Millstone River PTA got the official notification that the National PTA recognizes them as a School of Excellence. There will be lots of celebration at Millstone River School once the school year begins, but until then, I hope you will join me in applause and congratulating the Millstone River PTA on this outstanding and well-deserved achievement. Do we have any new business? That brings us to our second opportunity for public comment. The board invites comments from members of our community who are present. Each participant is asked to give his or her name and address prior to making a statement, which will be limited to 3 minutes in accordance with Board Policy 0167. All statements shall be directed to the presiding officer. This public comment period shall be limited to 15 minutes. Hello, Maya.
Hello. Hi, Dr. Adderhold and the Board of Education. I was late today because my younger one refused to eat dinner. I'm now a short order cook with the pandemic, so I missed the first opportunity to comment. I just want to say thank you, and I think many parents are also thankful and grateful for each and every one of you. I hope, sorry, I have to read a little today. I hope that all parents will realize how important these Board of Education's meetings are and the district communication is. This is the opportunity for us not only to advocate for what we need to know, also what happens in the district, and each and every parent needs to understand how reading the district newsletter and coming to these meetings is very, very important. I wish there were more parents here tonight. I know some parents did come. At the same time, I'm grateful when I cannot meet these meetings because I had to miss a few as a parent, and I'm grateful that I'm also able to watch them on the YouTube channel or find them on the district website. Over the last few years, I've missed a few. I think we as parents know that the job that you all have is very difficult, and it's getting harder day by day, especially with the limited choices and information that Governor Murphy has given all of you. We appreciate the time and resources the district has dedicated till date to keep our children and the staff safe. As I'm sure you all know, our district is torn. We all know that children need to be in the building, and so many are grateful to have the chance to go in. But with the Delta variant, things are now questionable for some families that have children in elementary schools that are not eligible for a vaccine, or possibly some families that have older kids that are vaccinated but have very high-risk family members at home. I personally have a daughter who's been hospitalized 7 times from kindergarten to 2nd grade, and she wasn't hospitalized in the 3rd grade because she always gets hospitalized in the spring, and we've been home since then. My daughter really, really, really wants to be in the building, and I really want her to go as well, but my fear might overtake that, personally, at this point. I might have to choose to homeschool her. God help me, she's extremely sassy, so gosh, you know. I also speak to parents each day that ask me whether the teacher will keep their mask up in the classroom. And the one thing I think is, I get they have that fear, but oh my God, can I control my own child in keeping her mask up in the classroom is also my fear. Parents have fears, teachers have fears. This is a very, very difficult situation for all of us. I know it's difficult to speak about things that might be out of our control, but I do believe there needs to be more communication to the parents, either by the district or the building principals. While I know this might be hard running day by day with the changes that are coming with the Department of Education, the Health Department, and everything going on, if more detailed information could be shared with the parents before school starts to make an informed decision, like contact tracing, more information on social distancing and lunch, I think it could help alleviate some people's fear. And if I choose to homeschool my child till she is vaccinated, I think some parents might do. Having more proactive information in this unique situation could help us matriculate the children
Maya,
after they are
excuse me.
vaccinated.
Maya, your 3 minutes is
Oh,
up,
my
so I
time is
need you
up?
to
Sorry.
finish up,
If the
okay?
district and
Thank you.
principal could create a Google form, or I'd be willing to do one for the district. But I thank you all for your time. I really thank you.
Thank you, Maya. You can go and watch the video so you can see what Dr. Adderholt said right before you got here.
Good evening. My name is Chandrika Stevenson, and I am stepping into my role this year as the WWPEA president of the Education Association. I just want to say thank you so much to all of our colleagues this summer for participating in so many opportunities to be able to service our students. I think it was wonderful. We had so many opportunities for students to come into the schools who haven't had those opportunities. All of the work on the PD, working on equity. Thank you so much for each and every colleague who came in to give some of their time this summer. I also want to say I'm so thankful for our relationships and common goals of keeping staff and children safe throughout these challenging times. I continue to be in awe of the way our staff, administration, students, and families have remained strong throughout all of these challenges over the past 2 years. I know we are so excited to start this school year and that we will continue to remain WWP strong. Thank you guys for supporting us and wearing your colors tonight. It means so much to us because we have strong partnerships and we have common goals. This year, we're reminded to have flexibility, constant communication, but also to have fun. I am so proud to work in this district, and also I know so many of our teachers as well because we have strong leadership. Thank you so much. I'm just so thankful to be able to speak with you all today, and I know that we're going to have a great school year. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Anyone else? All right, that will close our second opportunity for public comment. Could I please get a motion to adjourn? Loy and Tony, all those in favor say aye. Aye, we are adjourned. Best of luck to everyone, start of school, and we'll see you in September.